Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome to the course of International Relations for undergraduate classes conducted by Council Institute of Information Technology, Virtual Campus Islamabad. Dear students, in the previous lecture we discussed about United Nations and its organs. Let's have a brief summary of the previous lecture. We discussed that UN was founded in 1945 and the date is 24 October 1945. आखिर अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा क्यों बनाई गई? Because it was established after the end of World War II. And after the end of World War II, the member countries, they were even thinking before that how to prevent the war. Therefore, there was a need for establishing an organization which is more effective than League of Nations, and that organization would try to bring peace and it would try to prevent the world from the war. As a result, UN was founded. The structure and function of UN is that it has some organs. The organs are General Assembly, जो कि इसकी सबसे बड़ी organ है, जिसमें हर एक मुल्क बाकायदा sent 5 members, but it would cast as 1 vote. And the function of General Assembly is that it discusses the issues related to peace and conflicts. It tries to bring the matter to the Security Council to take any action if there is dispute and a matter is a threat to the world peace. इसके साथ it passes budget of the United Nations. It also elects the members of non-permanent members of Security Council as well as the judges for International Court of Justice. इसी के साथ then the second organ is Security Council, which is the executive organ of United Nations, and it has 2 kind of members. One is permanent, the second is non-permanent. The permanent members never retire because these seats are kept by the countries throughout. और इसमें जो 5 कंट्रीज हैं उसमें अमेरिका, बरतानिया, फ्रांस, चीन और रूस हैं. इसके अलावा 10 non-permanent members are elected by General Assembly. Security Council enforces the decisions made by the General Assembly. It looks for peace and it tries that there is no conflict and disputes between the member countries. It also advises the member countries to solve their disputes through negotiations and through talks. Its session is held once a month, but in case of situations of emergency, its special sessions can also be called upon. उसके बाद Economic and Social Council है, which looks for the social and economic aspects and these works. It tries that there is no kind of social problem in the world and the economic activities are taken for the welfare of the member countries. It has many organs working under it, जिसमें UNICEF है, जिसमें UNHCR है, ILO है, World Health Organization है, UNESCO है, and similarly और बहुत से किस्म के organs इसके नीचे काम कर रहे हैं, which works for the betterment of social aspects and try that the problems which are related to social and economic aspects are peacefully solved. Then the next organ is Trusteeship Council, in which the members, there are 54 members, and the function is to administer the territories and develop them so that they are given independence when they are able to self-rule. तो उसमें जितने भी territories शामिल थे, they are finally given independence. International Court of Justice is the judicial organ of United Nations. It tries to solve disputes between the member countries and also give advices to the Security Council and the other organs of the United Nations about different types of legal matters. The judges of the International Court of Justice are elected for 9 years term, but after every 3 years 5 judges are retired. So the total number of judges are 15 and no 2 judges are belonging to from the same country. So this was the review of the previous lecture. Today we would start our new lecture with the last organ, which is the Secretariat. Secretariat is the principal administrative department of United Nations. तो ये इसका administrative department है जहाँ पे जो इसकी different types of offices हैं. So they are in the Secretariat and they do all kind of official jobs which are related, and they prepare records for the General Assembly and Security Council. It is headed by Secretary General appointed by the General Assembly on the recommendation of Security Council for a term of 5 years. He can be re-elected. तो Secretariat का जो head है, he is called Secretary General और उसकी मुद्दत मुलाजमत 5 years है. He is elected by General Assembly. But when he is elected by General Assembly, then that should also be acceptable to the Security Council. अगर Security Council में कोई member country उसको veto कर दे, then that person cannot be, that cannot be Secretary General. Rather, the General Assembly has to elect another new member for the Secretary General, and he can be re-elected. So most of the Secretary General of the UN, so they are also given a second term, except Batruz Ghali. The staff of Secretariat is appointed by him from 192 member countries. So जो बाकी officials हैं, बाकी जो staff है, so they are then appointed by the Secretary General with the help of his other officers which are working under him. He organizes conferences, oversees peacekeeping operation, draft reports on economic and social trends, prepares studies on human rights, mediates in international disputes, and prepare budget estimates. तो नज़र आ रहा है कि वो काफ़ी important official activities कर रहा है और वो बाकायदा जितने भी ये जो written documents हैं और जो official records हैं तो इनकी निगरानी कर रहा है, इसको maintain कर रहा है ताकि every official document is saved and can be used whenever it is required. So he organizes different types of conferences. He also looks for different types of peacekeeping missions. He prepares reports and drafts for the economic and social trends. He prepares studies on human rights, and then he also gives those reports to the different organs of the United Nations. He also mediates in international disputes. So because he is the representative of United Nations, therefore he visits different countries whenever there is a problem, and he on the behalf of UN mediates, negotiates and talks to the different parties so that the dispute or the problem is solved. इसके अलावा जो budget estimate है वो भी Secretariat बनाता है जो कि बाद में goes to the General Assembly जहाँ पे उसके ऊपर discussion होती है, बहस होती है, and finally it is approved by the General Assembly, but the budget preparation is made by the staff of the Secretariat. All member countries must abide by the policy and the program of United Nations if the latter is to succeed. अगर अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा ने पास होना है, अगर इसने कामयाब होना है, so it should take the cooperation. It should seek the cooperation of all its member countries. Then UN can be a successful country. In the picture you can see the present Secretary General of UN, and his name is, as you always see him on the media, his name is Ban Ki-moon, and he belongs to Republic of Korea. Then there is a list of the Secretary General of UN as they come in different periods. The first one is Trygve Lie, who belong to Norway, and the present is Ban Ki-moon, who have assumed his charge from 2007, and he belongs to Republic of Korea. Now let us discuss what are the achievements of UN. क्या UN वाकई कामयाब रहा, क्या UN नाकाम रहा? So let us see what are the achievements and failure of UN. The first achievement of UN is that it has helped in peacekeeping. The first and the foremost, it has prevented the occurrence of any further world war since its creation and tried to maintain peace. ये वाकई इसका सबसे बड़ा एक रोल है, एक बड़ा काम है, एक बड़ी कामयाबी है कि आफ्टर 1945 देयर इज़ नो थर्ड वर्ल्ड वॉर. तो हम 2 जंग अजीम तो देख चुके हैं, लेकिन यूएन के बाद कोई तीसरी जंग अजीम नहीं आई. तो ये वाकई इसका बड़ा कारनामा रहा है. सो इट हैज़ helped, it has struggled that peace is maintained in the different regions of the world. Through its peacekeeping operation, it has resolved many international disputes and stopped war. So how it has prevented wars? Because it has a peacekeeping operation. It also mediates, it also talks to the different states, and it encouraged them to solve the disputes through peaceful means. जिसकी वजह से काफ़ी जो international problems हैं, so they are solved, and as a result it has prevented further wars. So since 1945, UN has been credited with negotiating 172 peaceful settlements that have ended regional conflicts. तो आपको नज़र आ रहा है कि 45 के बाद almost 172 जो peaceful मायदे हैं तो वो UN की बदौलत हो चुके हैं, जिसकी वजह से जो regional conflicts हैं they were solved and they were stopped. Currently the UN has 16 active peacekeeping missions in hotspot like Syria, Kosovo and North Korea. तो अभी भी जो UN के different peacekeeping missions हैं, so they are operating, they are working in Syria, Kosovo and North Korea, and they are trying to protect civilians and protect the violation of their human rights. The second achievement of UN is that it has helped in strengthening nation-state system. It helped in ending colonialism and imperialism and apartheid in South Africa. The colonies were developed to get independence and this strengthened the nation-state system. तो एक तो ये है कि जो दुनिया में अमन है वो उसने कायम रखा हुआ है. जितने भी स्टेट्स हैं, जितने भी कंट्रीज हैं, और जो वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के बाद डिफरेंट कंट्रीज in Asia and Africa, so they got independence, so their independence is maintained through the efforts of UN, because there is no disputes, there are no problems between the states. If there are problems, the UN tries to solve them. Although we cannot say there is no disputes, but there are no disputes which can arrive at Third World War. There are smaller disputes, but the disputes are watched and there are negotiations, and UN ensure that the disputes do not turn into a war. So it has helped the existence of these states. It has helped that ये जो ममालिक हैं ये अपनी आज़ादी बरकरार रखें, और ये जो जितने भी ममालिक हैं so they existed as separate countries. इसके अलावा the territories, the areas which were given to trusteeship council, they were also given independence. As a result, we see many other nation-state system being developed. So as a result, it has helped in developing the nation-state system. इसकी जो तीसरी achievement है वो है disarmament. So disarmament, in the field of disarmament, UN has a significant role in disarming the world and stop the growth of nuclear weapons. Although we see that the nuclear proliferation was there and some countries acquired nuclear weapons, but it has prevented the growth of these nuclear weapons throughout the world. दुनिया के जितने भी ममालिक हैं, so they tried to get nuclear weapons, but through the efforts of UN, it did not spread to many countries. So far, there are only 8 countries that have acquired the capability of nuclear weapons. जबकि the spread or the proliferation of nuclear weapons was prevented by the UN effort. इसी के साथ जो disarmament है, असलहे की तख़फ़ीफ़ है, तो उसमें भी UN का काफ़ी बड़ा किरदार रहा है. It has initiated, it has passed different types of resolutions, and different types of agreements were suggested by UN, through which the world has finally agreed on disarmaments, and as a result we see that these efforts were successful. So we see that treaties like Partial Test Ban Treaty, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty और इस तरह बहुत से treaties हैं जिसको हम discuss करेंगे. So all these kind of efforts were coming from UN from time to time, and as a result the states that have acquired sophisticated weapons, जिनके पास मोहलिक हथियार थे, तो उन्होंने उसमें तखफीफ की, उसमें कमी किया और उसकी प्रोडक्शन को बाकायदा रोक दिया. As a result we witnessed the world turning into a safe place. So this was again a very great achievement of United Nations. The fourth achievement of United Nations is that it has helped in protecting human rights. It has acted as a vanguard for the protection of human rights of the people of the world. It has passed Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. So soon after its establishment in 45, it worked for the protection of human rights. और 1948 में इन्होंने जो एक रेजोल्यूशन पास किया है जिसका नाम है यूनिवर्सल डिक्लेरेशन ऑफ ह्यूमन राइट्स रेजोल्यूशन. रिमेंबर दैट रेजोल्यूशन was a very tremendous achievement of the United Nations, जिसमें बाकायदा जो इंसानी हकूक़ हैं उनको तहफ़्फ़ुज़ दिया गया और उनको बाकायदा मेंशन किया गया. As a result, all the member states try to stick to those rules, those principles, and they respect human rights as given by this declaration. इसके साथ it also passed various conventions and declaration on child labor and protection of child, women rights, wildlife and climate. तो ना सिर्फ ह्यूमन राइट्स में बल्कि इसके अलावा वो जो हमारे पास स्पेसिफिक राइट्स हैं, जिस तरह चाइल्ड लेबर है, इस तरह चाइल्ड राइट है, इसी तरह प्रोटेक्टिंग चाइल्ड अब्यूज़ है, फिर विमेन राइट्स हैं, फिर प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ वाइल्ड लाइफ है, प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ क्लाइमेट है. सो UN has given resolutions and declarations on all these rights. It has made clear to the states that these rights should be protected and promoted, and there should be no violation of these rights. अगर कहीं पे इनकी violation हो रही है, so the UN keep a very strict watch on these violations, and through its organs and different bodies, these violations are then reported, and then that country or state is intimated कि आप जो violation कर रहे हैं वो सही नहीं है, तो लिहाजा इन violations को रोक दिया जाए. इसी तरह UNICEF है, which stands for United Nations International Children Emergency Fund, which works for the protection of child and the rights of children and to enhance the living standard of children. तो ये उस फेयर में भी काफ़ी बड़ा किरदार अदा कर रही है. हेडक्वार्टर इज़ बेस्ड इन न्यूयॉर्क. तो यूनिसेफ का हेडक्वार्टर है वो न्यूयॉर्क में है, एंड इट वर्क्स फॉर द प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ चाइल्ड and child rights. The number of deaths for children under the age of 5 has declined from nearly 12 million in 1990 to 6.9 million in 2011. So you can see it's a very remarkable achievements कि 1990 से लेके 2011 तक इस अरसे में काफ़ी appreciable decrease in death नज़र आ रहा है कि 1990 में 12 million से जो चाइल्ड की डेथ रही है, so now it has decreased to almost 6.9 million. So it's almost 5 million का decrease है, but still it's a large number, and we should try to work hard to decrease this number because still it's a very large number. But as a result, we can see the achievement of UN. At least this number has declined sharply, and this should be decreased even more. The fifth is food aid, achievement in providing food. इसके लिए बाकायदा UN का एक इदारा है जिसका नाम है World Food Program. It is known as one of the most successful program UN has ever ratified because of its enormous impact on global community. Every year, the UN feeds 104 million people in 80 countries with famine and drought situation. तो ये जो वर्ल्ड फूड प्रोग्राम है, which is a very successful program of UN, it is providing food. It is ensuring that people who are living in the world, and a large number is living in starvation, जिनको खाने के लिए कुछ नहीं मिल रहा, और जहाँ पे माल न्यूट्रिशन है, अगर खाना है भी तो उसकी क्वालिटी काफ़ी ख़राब है. It is not according to the balanced diet. So UN is trying to provide food to those areas. It is also providing food to the areas which are in a drought situation, जो कहत की हालत में है, जहाँ पे खुराक की कमी है. So as a result, the people are benefiting from this work of United Nations. नज़र आ रहा है कि almost 80 countries में इनकी ये एक्टिविटीज़ हो रही हैं, ये एफर्ट्स हो रही है, और almost 104 million people are being feed every year. हर साल इतने लोगों को बाकायदा खुराक दी जा रही है. ऐसे इलाकों में जहाँ पे फेमिन है, जहाँ पे कहत है, और जहाँ पे ड्रॉट खुशसाली है और खाने के लिए कुछ नहीं है. UN through its agencies provide food to people in war zones, to refugees and to people hit by natural disaster. तो इसके अलावा UN वहाँ पे भी बाकायदा खुराक मुहैया कर रही है जहाँ पे लोग तकलीफ में हैं. जिस तरह अगर ऐसे इलाके जहाँ पे जंगें हो रही हैं तो वहाँ पे जो उनके रेफ्यूजीज़ हैं उनको खुराक की फराहमी. इसी तरह ऐसे जगहों पे जहाँ पे कुदरती आफात आ जाते हैं, जिस तरह सैलाब है, जिस तरह ज़लज़ला है, और जिस तरह पाकिस्तान में IDPs हैं. IDPs का मतलब इंटरनली डिस्प्लेस्ड पीपल है, जो अपने मुल्क में महाजर बन जाते हैं, जो अपने मुल्क में एक जगह से दूसरी जगह हिजरत कर जाते हैं, तो उसको IDPs कहा जाता है. तो उनके लिए भी, क्योंकि जिस तरह पाकिस्तान में मुख्तलिफ ऑपरेशंस हो रहे हैं दहशतगर्दी के ख़िलाफ़, तो वहाँ के जो लोग हैं, वहाँ की जो आबादी है, उसको वहाँ से मूव करना पड़ता है ताकि the army gets room for their operations. So as a result, those people that have moved, they are IDPs, and how would they be given food? So this is again done through the agencies of United Nations. So these achievements of UN is also very memorable and very worthwhile. The second achievement of UN is aid to refugees. For this, UN has a special agency which is called UNHCR, United Nations High Commissioner on Refugees. It's a very successful organ of United Nations. It has helped 17 million asylum seekers and refugees such as Afghan refugees, IDPs in Pakistan. तो नज़र आ रहा है काफ़ी ज़्यादा लोगों की इसने हेल्प की है. Almost 17 million asylum seekers जिनको पनाह की तलाश है, तो उनको बाकायदा इन्होंने पनाह दी है, उनके लिए खैमे लगवाए हैं, उनके लिए बाकायदा खैमा बस्तियाँ बनाई गई हैं. इसी तरह जो IDPs हैं उनके लिए भी इन्होंने, इनकी जो खिदमात हैं वो काबिल तहसीन है. इसी बिना पे the 2 Nobel Prize are so far given to United Nations, and the agency is again UNHCR. तो UNHCR ने अभी तक 2 नोबेल प्राइज जीते हैं अपनी इन अचीवमेंट्स की बिना पे. एक 1954 है और दूसरा 1981 है, in which this prize was given to UNHCR. UNHCR is facing a problematic financial issue, and it's trying to protect and assist 700,000 people who migrated due to conflict in Syria, Mali, Sudan and Democratic Republic of Congo. तो अभी UN जो है ना उसको कुछ तकालीफ, कुछ मसाइल से दो चार है, कुछ फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम्स हैं क्योंकि काफ़ी ज़्यादा रेफ्यूजीज़ हैं, of which it has to take care of. These refugees are in Mali, Sudan, Syria and Congo, and the number is very large. So it need more resources, it need more funds to bear the expenses of the food and other facilities for these refugees. But as a result, this UNHCR is still the hope of millions of refugees all over the world, and the refugees in the world look to UNHCR as their savior. The seventh achievement of UN is in the health. In the health sector, it has provided vaccination to member countries for various children and infectious diseases. तो जो बच्चों की मोहलिक बीमारियां हैं तो उसके लिए बाकायदा जो वैक्सीनेशन है सो इट इज़ प्रोवाइडेड बाय दिस एजेंसी ऑफ यूनाइटेड नेशंस, जिसमें वर्ल्ड हेल्थ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जो है उसकी खिदमत काफ़ी काबिल तहसीन है। इसके अलावा जो बाकी मोहलिक बीमारियां हैं जिस तरह कैंसर है, जिस तरह एड्स है, इस तरह हाइपेटाइटिस है, सो इन बीमारियों की रोकथाम के लिए भी और इनके लिए वैक्सीन तैयार करना, इनके लिए वैक्सीन की फराहमी करना, सो ऑल दीज आर डन बाय दिस एजेंसीज ऑफ यूनाइटेड नेशंस. As a result, we see that UN has not only working in peace and security, but also working in different types of social aspects, different types of welfare activities as well. According to the most recent report, the number of people who died from AIDS has decreased from 2.3 million in 2005 to 1.6 million in 2012. So you can see that the AIDS, which the number of patients which were dying from AIDS have also decreased very appreciably. उनमें भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा कमी नज़र आ रही है. All these were because of the achievements of United Nations. Another achievement of UN is monitoring election. UN has fought continuously for the voting rights of people in areas where the ideology of monarchy is still dominating. तो जहाँ जहाँ पे डिक्टेटरशिप है, जहाँ पे अमीरियत है, तो वहाँ पे यूएन ने काफ़ी हेल्प की है, काफ़ी इसके अचीवमेंट्स हैं कि द पीपल गेट देयर डेमोक्रेटिक राइट्स, दे आर गिवन द राइट टू वोट्स, एंड देयरफॉर इट हैज़ हेल्प्ड टू गिव द पीपल देयर राइट टू चूज देयर ओन गवर्नमेंट. एंड व्हेन दिस वाज डन, it has also helped in conducting free and fair election. It also monitor the elections कि जो elections हो रहे हैं किसी country में तो वो free और fair हो और उसमें कोई corruption ना हो, उसमें कोई दांदी ना हो. It has conducted free election in Iraq and formed a government there. तो जिस तरह इराक में there was a dictatorial government, there was the autocratic government of Saddam Hussein. So this was overthrown and it was replaced by a democratic government, and the United Nations achievement is to conduct that election and to see that the elections are free and fair. It also monitors elections and voting process through its observer to ensure the free and fair elections are held in a country. So with this, we have come to the end of the achievements of United Nations. Let us see what are the failures of UN. The first failure of UN is, although I'm not going in the sequence of preferences, but here as a point, the first point is that UN still could not solve the Kashmir problem, which was brought in its notice since 1948, and still the Kashmiris are struggling for their freedom. तो कश्मीर के मसले पे भी UN नाकामी का शिकार है. ये मसला 1948 में कश्मीर यूनाइटेड नेशंस में लाया गया, लेकिन अभी तक ये मसला हल नहीं हुआ. It is still under consideration and the UN resolution on Kashmir is still not implemented, and Pakistan is still asking the United Nations कि जो उसका resolution है जिसमें बाकायदा ये बात की गई है कि जो कश्मीर का फ्यूचर का जो मसला है, it would be solved through a plebiscite, through an election in the Kashmir Valley, where the people of Kashmir would choose their own fate through a voting system. लेकिन अभी तक ये जो resolution है इसको अमली जामा नहीं पहनाया गया. The second is Israel has been taking aggressive action in Middle East since many decades and is involved in extreme kind of human rights violation and killing in Gaza, but UN failed to stop it due to US veto power. तो जिस तरह मिडिल ईस्ट में गल्फ में हम देखते हैं कि इसराइल मुसलसल बेगुनाह फ़लस्तीनियों पे अपने मजालिम डाल रहा है, और वहाँ पे औरतें हैं, वहाँ पे बच्चे हैं, वहाँ पे बूढ़े हैं और जवान हैं. So they are being killed very brutally, and since even this year 2014 we saw that the Israel were showing very strict hand on Palestinian and were killing them brutally, and the world was silent, and also the UN was silent. The UN could not take concrete measure against Israel. Why? What was the reason? Because in Security Council, the US was protecting Israel from taking any action against Israel. The third is no emphatic role in worse crises like the Cuban missile crisis. ये जो crisis है, जो कि Cuba में हुआ missile crisis, because of which the world was even very close to a war, so UN was having no role in settling this kind of dispute. Similarly, in the Vietnam problem, in the Vietnam crisis, we see that the US was involved and the UN was not very active in solving this problem. The UN became a silent spectator during the Cold War. The violation of human rights by communist Russia is silencing the opponents by force could not stopped by UN. So we see that during the Cold War, when there were problems between United States and Soviet Union, and there were different types of atrocities between the two countries, so UN was silent. Although the Soviet Union was doing many kinds of human rights violation, क्योंकि वो काफ़ी अपने जो मुखालिफिन हैं उनको दबाव में रखे हुए था और human rights violation कर रहा था. It was killing all the people who were criticized or who would go against socialism. But these rights were not taken seriously by the United Nations. UN was completely powerless to take any action against the violation of human rights by Soviet Union. As a result, we see that again UN was failed here. UN was nowhere in the picture when the NATO rained bombs over former Yugoslavia after USSR disintegration. तो हमने यहाँ पे ये भी देखा कि after Russia disintegration, UN was nowhere and NATO was bombing the former Yugoslavia. So when NATO was bombing the former Yugoslavia, so UN was silent here because here a powerful body was involved, and as a result UN was powerless to take any action or to stop this violation of human rights. इसी तरह UN polarity and unilateralism has shaken the relevance of the world body. The US, now being the only superpower, is dominating world politics, and its influence is working. For example, unilateral action in Iraq. तो नजर आ रहा है कि after, as we see in the present situation, that we have only one superpower, and United Nations is totally under the influence of US and the Western powers. So it is now not acting very impartially in different types of activities. ये side ले रहा है, ये जो अमेरिका जिस तरह चाह रहा है उसको use किया जा रहा है. So as we see that how the United States take action in Iraq without caring for the UN resolutions. So US took unilateral action against Iraq, and it did not care for United Nations, and as a result we see that UN today is completely under US influence and is not doing partial job. इसी तरह UN also failed to generate a universal consensus to protect the deteriorating world climate. जो हम देख रहे हैं कि जो दुनिया का क्लाइमेट है वो मुसलसल ख़राब हो रहा है, लेकिन UN की जो efforts हैं to protect the environment, to protect the world climate, it is still a fail. Still we see that the industries are there and the regulations are very weak, and we have all these kind of pollutions which are affecting the environment, but still the UN efforts are not very much to stop these kind of degradation of the earth atmosphere and the earth climate. इसी के साथ the number of nuclear power in the world increased after World War II. UN could not control the horizontal expansion and proliferation of weapons and arms. Nuclear weapon states include US, UK, France, Russia, China, Pakistan, India, North Korea, and Israel. So UN can even not stop the expansion of and the proliferation of nuclear technology, और जिसकी वजह से the nuclear technology and the nuclear bombs were acquired by different states in the world, जिसमें पाकिस्तान भी है, जिसमें इंडिया भी है, लेकिन पाकिस्तान की मजबूरी थी क्योंकि इंडिया न्यूक्लियर टेक्नोलॉजी को हासिल कर रहा था। इसी तरह अमेरिका ने तो पहले से हासिल कर लिया था, इसके बाद बरतानिया, फ्रांस, रूस, चीन, नॉर्थ कोरिया, इसराइल, बरतानिया, तो ये वो सारे ममालिक हैं जो कि न्यूक्लियर टेक्नोलॉजी से लेस हैं। They have nuclear capable missiles, they have nuclear weapons, and UN was completely failed here to stop these states from acquiring nuclear arms and nuclear weapons. So in this aspect, UN was also failed. Next is financial dependence on the industrialized nation has at times deviated UN from neutrality and impartiality. जिस समय पहले भी बता दिया कि जो यूएन के डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, जो उसके डिफरेंट एक्टिविटीज़ हैं, जो उसके डिफरेंट वर्क्स हैं, तो उसके लिए जो बाकायदा फंड आता है, सो इट इज़ कमिंग फ्रॉम यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स एंड यूरोपियन कंट्रीज. एज अ रिजल्ट यूएन इज़ very much partial towards these countries. It is under the influence of these countries, and therefore we do not see the neutrality or the impartiality of UN in different works and in different projects. Human right violation and insecure law and order situation in Iraq and many regions of Afghanistan despite an active UN. So we see that still there is human right violations. Still the situation of law and order is not good in many countries because UN cannot enforce proper peace in those regions. So we still see Iraq and Afghanistan कि वहाँ पे जो इंसानी हकूक़ हैं उनकी खिलाफ वर्जी हो रही है. And these countries are facing different types of human rights violations. इसी तरह पाकिस्तान भी इसी का शिकार है कि human rights violations हो रही है, and we see that there is suicide bombing, there is conflicts on army, there are civilian killings, kidnapping, all these because of the situation which was created because of the war against terrorism, जिसमें पाकिस्तान बुरी तरह पंस चुका है और जिसकी वजह से पाकिस्तान में काफ़ी ह्यूमन राइट्स की वायलेशंस हो रही है because of the Taliban, that they are taking very stern actions and they are violating all norms of humanities. The next is the UN failed to prevent the genocide of Bosnian Muslims by the Serbs in 1990. The Serbs freely killed thousands of Muslims while the UN could not take any action. Many Bosnian Muslims took refugees and took shelter in different countries. So again here we can see that जब बोस्निया का मसला आया जिसमें the Serbs were killing the Bosnians, they were involved in genocide. Genocide means when there is a full cleansing of a particular ethnic group. जब एक पूरे ethnic नस्ली group को ख़त्म किया जा रहा हो, जब उसको मारा जा रहा हो, this is called genocide. So we saw that the Serbs were completely involved in genocide of Muslims, and UN was very silent at that time. It was not taking action, and the action was taken very lately. As a result, many of the Muslims fled away. They become refugees in different countries. Again, we saw the failure of UN here. So what is the conclusion then? The conclusion is that the UN has both failure and achievements. इसके पॉजिटिव पॉइंट्स भी हैं, इसके नेगेटिव भी हैं, इसकी कामयाबियाँ भी हैं, इसकी नाकामयाबी मौजूद हैं. However, the achievements are more. हम देखते हैं कि उनके अचीवमेंट्स ज़्यादा है. ठीक है, आप दुनिया से तमाम मसले एकदम ख़त्म नहीं कर सकते हो, दुनिया मसाइल से भरी हुई है, लेकिन इसमें काफ़ी बेहतरी आई है. We see that the achievements such as there is peace in the world, at least there is no third world war. The UN also helped in solving interstate disputes. It also helped in lessening of tension. It brings many reforms and improvements for education. It has also worked very much in health. It has protected the child abuse. It has given many resolutions on human rights and protection and promotion of human rights. It has also protected women's rights and has closely watched that the women's rights are not abused. इसी तरह इसने बहुत से labor laws लिए हैं. It also looks at the condition of the laborers and ensure that the labor laws are enforced properly, they are watched properly. इसी तरह the refugees problems are there and it monitors the refugees condition, it care for the refugees, it provide them different types of facilities and ensure that the refugees return back to their home after the conflict. इसी तरह the protection of wildlife है, ना सिर्फ इंसानों के लिए बल्कि जो जानवरी हयात हैं उसकी प्रोटेक्शन करने के लिए भी इसकी काफ़ी खिदमात हैं. It has different laws to protect those species which are on the verge of extinction, जो कि ख़त्म हो रहे हैं. तो ऐसे जंगली हयात के लिए भी यूएन ने काफ़ी काम किया है and it has different protection laws for protection of these wildlife. Efforts for environment protection is also there. It is also working for the improvement of protection and for reducing the pollution or the problem which are caused by the pollution. It has also worked for nuclear non-proliferation और इसकी वजह से सिर्फ 8 कंट्रीज ने अभी तक न्यूक्लियर टेक्नोलॉजी हासिल की है, तो ये काफ़ी कम तादाद है. As a result, it has successfully stopped the growth of nuclear technology to other countries, and therefore this is again a very good achievement. UN also provide economic assistance to different countries. It has set different trade agreements and has set the international trade rules and principles. It has also worked in ethic education and promoting ethical and moral values not only in science but also in different types of social science subject as well. But still, more has to be done. क्योंकि दुनिया है, आबादी मुसलसल बढ़ रही है. We still need many efforts. We still need serious efforts. So how to make UN more productive? We should find new ways of financing its activities and not to rely on some few. So as a result, because UN has now very few ways of finance, it has very few sources of funds. So the need is to explore new ways of financing, new ways of funding, the new ways, exploring new methods of seeking real cooperation from member countries, and deliberation and doing away with veto power and arriving at some better option. एक जो veto power है, it is also hampering some of the activities because as regarding the conflicts and the clash in which these 5 permanent members are involved, we see that then that problem lingers on. So how to do away with veto power? Veto power का कैसा हल निकाला जाए? इसके लिए भी there should still be some reforms, new deliberations, how to solve the problem of veto power. So this was all for today's lecture. Let's have a summary of today's lecture. So this topic was about UNO. What does UNO mean? UNO means United Nations Organizations, जिसको अक़वाम मुत्तहिदा भी कहते हैं. We discussed that the efforts for UN was started even during World War II, when President Roosevelt and Churchill were thinking seriously how to make an organization which could prevent the world from the scourge of war. As a result, in 1945, when World War II ended, we saw the emergence of UNO. और जो डेट है इसमें वो है 24 October 1945. What was the purpose of UNO? So as we see that this organization was made after World War II, तो इसका पहला पर्पस ये है कि to prevent the world from the scourge of war, कि दुनिया को जंग से बचाना. Second, to promote international peace, पूरी दुनिया में अमन को लाना. अब जाहिर ही बात है अगर जंग से बचाएंगे तो अमन भी आएगा. और इसी के साथ if you want to bring peace, this means that the member states should have friendly relations. So the other purpose of UN is that it would promote friendly relations between countries. इसी के साथ the respect for human rights, to protect and promote human rights, and their abuse should be protected. Human rights should be promoted and it should be valued and respected throughout the world. And to seek the cooperation between member countries, how these goals, how these functions or how these objectives of UN can be achieved. So the international cooperation between countries should also be there. So this was why UNO was founded. Then the structure of UNO is such that it has 6 organs. पहला ऑर्गन है जनरल असेंबली. ये एक लेजिस्लेचर की तरह है, एक पार्लियामेंट की तरह है और ये सबसे बड़ा ऑर्गन है. It all the member countries of the UN are automatically the member of General Assembly. Each member can send 5 members to a General Assembly, but it would be counted as 1 vote. The main function of the General Assembly is that it admits new members upon the recommendation of Security Council. It also prepares budgets for the UN. It also looks and discusses different matters which are related to international peace and security and try to find solution to different types of international disputes. और इसी के साथ it also elects member of Economic and Social Council. It also elects the member of International Court of Justice and also the members of Security Council who are non-permanent. तो ये इसके कुछ functions हैं. उसके बाद आते हैं towards Security Council. Security Council एक मुख्तसर सा इदारा है, एक मुख्तसर ऑर्गन है और इसके कुल 15 अरकान हैं. इन 15 अरकान में जो 5 अरकान हैं वो मुस्तकिल हैं. उनमें कौन कौन से ममालिक शामिल हैं? उनमें ये जो बड़े ममालिक हैं जिसमें अमेरिका, बरतानिया, फ्रांस, रूस और चीन आते हैं. इसके अलावा जो बाकी 10 अरकान हैं सो दे आर नॉन परमानेंट, वो चेंज होते रहते हैं. उनकी जो मुद्दत मियाद है वो 2 years है. आफ्टर 2 years so they are changed and they are again elected by General Assembly. Because Security Council is an executive body, so it enforces the decision of the General Assembly. इसके अलावा जो General Assembly जो Security Council है इसके और भी काफ़ी functions हैं. As a result, it discusses the matters which are related to peace. It also tries that the international disputes are solved in a peaceful manner. इसी के साथ इनके जो मेंबरान हैं उनके पास एक पावर है which is called the veto power. Veto power में if any permanent member vetoes a bill or veto a resolution, this means that resolution is cancelled. This would not be then adopted or followed, which is a very great power. All the decisions of the Security Councils are taken by a voting of 9 members, but this should also contain the consent of or the yes votes of all the members of Security Council, and there should be no negative vote for that particular resolution to be passed. उसके बाद जो next organ है, it is the Economic and Social Council. As you can see, this is Economic and Social Council. So these councils work for the welfare of social activities, social welfare and cultural affair. It also try to promote economic activities and economic welfare. इसीलिए इसके बहुत से organs हैं, बहुत से bodies हैं जो इसके नीचे काम कर रहे हैं और इसके कुल जो मेंबरान हैं वो 54 हैं and they are elected by General Assembly. The bodies that are working under economic and social councils are IMF, World Health Organization, International Labour Organization, UNHCR, UNICEF, UNESCO और इस तरह बहुत से बाकी bodies हैं जो इसके नीचे काम कर रहे हैं and they are working for the promotion of social, cultural and economic activities and affairs. उसके बाद Trusteeship Council है. ये वो organ है which take into consideration those territories which were taken from the colonies or which were taken from the countries which were fighting the World War II, and these areas would be developed, and after these areas are fully developed and capable of independence, then those countries would be given independence. तो इसमें जितने भी countries शामिल थे, जितने भी territories शामिल थे, उन सारों को आखिर में आज़ादी दे दी गई. इसी के साथ इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट ऑफ जस्टिस है, विच इज़ द जुडिशल ऑर्गन। इसमें 15 जजेस हैं। द जजेस आर इलेक्टेड फॉर 9 years term, but after every 3 years 5 judges would be retiring. इसका जो मेन फंक्शन है तो वो दो हैं। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट सॉल्व्स interstate disputes, and as a result the member states would bring their case to the International Court of Justice. But remember, International Court of Justice एक केस उस वक्त ले सकती है जब दोनों स्टेट्स अग्री करें कि इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट ऑफ जस्टिस उसके बारे में फैसला दे, वरना इंटरनेशनल कोर्ट ऑफ जस्टिस कैन नॉट स्टार्ट अ केस अगेंस्ट अनदर स्टेट. एंड द सेकंड फंक्शन ऑफ ICJ is that it gives advice to any organ of the United Nations. उसके बाद secretariat है. Secretariat is the official organ of the United Nations. It keeps all the records. It keeps all the documents. इसका जो सरबराह है उसका नाम सेक्रेटरी जनरल है, जिसकी मदत मुलाजमत 5 years है. सेक्रेटरी जनरल is elected by the General Assembly and with the recommendation of Security Council, and he elects other staff of his office. He has many other functions. He also negotiates and solves the interstate disputes by visiting there and talking to all the warring groups and all the parties. इसी के साथ he also prepares budget estimates and present it before General Assembly. He keeps all the records, hold conferences, and try to solve and work with all the organs of the UN so that the UN can achieve its objective. इसके बाद we discuss about the achievements of United Nations, and we discuss that it has helped in peacekeeping mission. Peacekeeping mission में जो UN का सबसे बड़ा रोल रहा है वो ये है कि इसने दुनिया को एक तीसरी जंग अजीम से बचाया हुआ है. So we see that after 1945 there is no World War III. It has many types of peacekeeping missions in different countries, where the peacekeeping mission ensure that the civilians are protected, the human rights are not violated, and peace is restored in that particular region. So the peacekeeping missions are guarantee of bringing security in that country. इसी के साथ इन्होंने काफ़ी बाकी जहाँ पे भी we see aggression and we see wars, so UN achievement is there. It sent its troops taken from different countries and that are staying there to bring peace in the region. Similarly, another achievement is it has strengthened the nation-state system, because we see that after the World War II, when different countries were getting independence and UN were supporting them, and UN helped in avoiding conflicts, and it brought peace in the world. So these state systems maintained their existence. As a result, nation-state system was strengthened. इसके अलावा जो ट्रस्टीशिप काउंसिल के टेरिटरीज थे उनको भी बाकायदा आज़ादी दी गई. As a result, many nation-state systems were emerging from the achievements of UN. UN has a great role in disarmament as well. It has helped the expansion of nuclear weapons. It has passed different resolutions. It has passed different treaties. It has embarked upon different efforts to stop the proliferation of nuclear weapons and using the nuclear technology for peace purposes. इसके अलावा जो भी states there who were acquiring sophisticated weapons, it has, through its effort, struggled that these weapons are not produced, they are abandoned, they are disarmed. As a result, this effort of UN is again very laudable. इसके साथ UN also helped in protecting human rights. Human rights में it has achieved many successes in passing resolutions on different types of rights. For example, it has passed resolutions on human rights, it has different resolutions on women rights, protection of child and child labor and child rights. इसी तरह protection of wildlife है, protection of labor है, labor laws हैं, labor rights हैं, इस तरह prisoner rights हैं. So UN has really achieved and worked in the social sector and has protected and promoted human rights. UN also has a very good achievement in providing food. It is feeding many people in the world who are starving, who are feeling hunger, and it has provided food. It has provided food to the regions where there was war, where there is natural calamity, where there is flood, where there is earthquake, and as a result, this achievement of UN is again very good. The next is that it has provided aid to refugees. So जो refugees हैं, when they are displaced, when they are moved and they need food, so it is provided by UN as well. It has also achieved many efforts in health activities. It has worked against stopping and providing vaccinations against deadly diseases such as hepatitis, such as cancer, such as AIDS, और अभी भी काफ़ी काम कर रहा है. It has World Health Organization through which it is providing vaccines for fighting against different types of child diseases and vaccines for these purposes. UN also has a very key role in monitoring election. It has strived against the regimes, the governments who are dictatorial, and it has successfully enabled the people to have their right for self-government. और जहाँ जहाँ पे भी elections होते हैं, तो UN also send its observer to see that the elections are held in a free and fair atmosphere and that there is no corruption in the election. As a result, this achievement of UN is also very achievable, is very laudable. Now let us come to the failure of UN. UN has failed in Kashmir problem. The resolution on Kashmir, which was passed in 1948, is still not implemented, and still the Kashmiri people are waiting for their right of self-determination. India is committing lots of human violation in Kashmir, but these violations cannot be seen by UN, and as a result, the Kashmiri people are suffering. So here on Kashmir issue, UN has been a failure. इसी तरह जो Israel aggression है, in which Israel is committing different types of human rights violation on innocent Palestinians. They are being killed, the women are molested, the child are abused, but still the UN is silent on it and it's not taking any action. इस तरह क्यूबन मिसाइल क्राइसिस है, जिसमें भी UN का जो रोल है वो काफ़ी कम रहा है. It has not succeeded in stopping this Cuban missile crisis. इसी तरह the crisis in Vietnam was again not solved by the United Nations. The work of UN has been dominated and influenced by US. There is lack of neutrality and impartiality in UN's efforts. We see that UN is taking most of the funds and most of its finance are being met by funding from US and other European countries. Therefore, it is acting impartial in some activities and therefore cannot take right action in those atmospheres. इसी तरह it has failed in achieving a good and viable world climate. It has not worked for stopping pollution, although the efforts are there, but still we see that the world climate is deteriorating and the efforts of UN are still needed. Some serious efforts in this regard must be appreciable that they are taken to prevent the global climate and the weather condition and to stop the pollution which are causing harm to the world. इसी तरह proliferation of nuclear weapons है. Although it has stopped the proliferation and the growth of nuclear weapons, but still it has proliferated, it has expanded, and the nuclear technology has been acquired by different countries, which is a failure because it could not enforce the treaties and the agreements which were passed from time to time. तो जिसकी वजह से जो न्यूक्लियाई हथियार हैं वो कुछ लोगों ने, कुछ ममालिक ने हासिल कर लिए हैं, जिसमें जो ममालिक शामिल हैं उसमें अमेरिका तो पहले से था, उसके बाद बरतानिया है, उसके बाद फ्रांस है, चीन है, रूस है, नॉर्थ कोरिया है, पाकिस्तान भी है, इंडिया भी है, Israel भी है. So these are some countries which have acquired nuclear weapons. पाकिस्तान की सिचुएशन ज़रा सी डिफरेंट है. Pakistan doesn't love nuclear weapons, but Pakistan was forced to acquire nuclear weapons because India was acquiring nuclear weapons, and India acquiring nuclear weapon was a threat to Pakistan territorial integrity. As a result, to safeguard its sovereignty, Pakistan was compelled to start nuclear program and to acquire this technology. इसी के साथ UN also failed in stopping genocide in different places. जहाँ पे बाकायदा नस्ल कुशी हो रही थी, and there was human right violation, just like in Bosnia, in Kosovo, in Libya, but UN was silent on it and no action was being taken. Action जो आया फिर काफ़ी देर बाद आया, लेकिन उस वक्त तक काफ़ी violations हो गई थी, and we see many people being suffered and being killed because of this human rights violation. So UN has both positive and negative aspects, but still we see that UN is a hope for the world. It is achieving, it is struggling hard, it has many achievements, and we hope that inshallah in the future it would turn out to be the best body and would prevent all kind of violation of human rights and economic rights. As a result, with this we come to the end of this unit. I hope you have understand. I wish you best of luck. Allah Hafiz.